I sang in a synagogue ever since I was 8 years old and have never missed a year till this very time. And I grew up in an Orthodox synagogue. I was one of these kids like my grandson, Aiden. I just sang. That's all I knew I ever wanted to do. And that's what I enjoyed doing. And one day a cantor came down to my father's meat market and said, I hear you have a son, he can sing. Can I hear him? And my father said, yes, you got to ask his mother. And then I sang for him. He said, I want you to sing in my temple choir. You'll be the voice soprano. And then became a music director at a conservative synagogue in Pittsburgh. That's where we lived. And then after the war in New York, I met Max Helfman. And I went to the Brandeis Camp Institute in California with Max. And when I came back, we were raising money at a fundraiser in Scarsdale for the Brandeis Camp Institute. And there was a rabbi there and said, you know, I want a cantor at my congregation, but my congregation don't want a cantor. It's going to be too orthodox. So could you come up and be the men's club choir director for a while? And see, well, that became a permanent job, which lasted for 45 years. After my 10th year, that was in 1959, Rosh Hashanah 59, then I was asked by Eric Werner and Paul Steinberg and Franz Paul to come down, and they wanted to get those of us who were serving as cantors to become certified. And I went down there and I passed my tests and auditions and so forth, and I became certified, and then invested. And then Paul Steinberg said, you guys have to take over the American Conference of Certified Cantors. We dropped certified after a while. And he said, I'm not going to run the pension plan anymore, and you guys take over. And it was between Norman Summers and myself. Norman said, I don't want to be the director. I'd rather be president. So I became the director, and I served for 22 years. My biggest challenge was with my colleagues in the rabbinate, who did not want to accept cantors as clergy. And they wouldn't accept, of course, ordination, so we had to take the name investiture. Okay, that doesn't bother me, it's a word. But it bothered me terribly that the cantor could only function through the rabbi. We belong to the congregation, not to the rabbi. Okay, and we don't work for a rabbi. We work for a congregation. We work together. That was my big fight for almost 20 years. And I think all the things that we've worked for and struggled through have been, for the most part, resolved. The rabbinate today and the cantor today are not what it was at all. Edge of Freedom is a combining of what I feel is the classic melodic style. It has to have a melodic inventiveness, not just an easy little melody that people can sing, but melodically challenging, okay? And at the same time, I wanted to be in the style of where rock was going at the time, which meant rhythm. And I love rhythm. So it was a matter of combining classical sound of the voice, classical type of melody, with rhythm and the spirit of rock music.
So what was the impact that it had on the movement in general?
And I think a lot of people took on to it. Gershon Kingsley immediately wrote, and then the others, and then everybody younger, they were already of that style of music that was indigenous to them already. I went to Columbia, I got my doctorate in vocal research to ascertain why some great singers lost their voices, why some never really develop great voices. Some have all kinds of vocal problems and troubles. So I determined that I would spend most of my life developing exactly that which enables a singer to continue singing. And you can literally keep your voice in a healthy condition for the rest of your life by just doing simple little exercises. So I'm 88 years old. I'm still able to sing, and I'm still invited to sing on the pulpit from my dear friend in Cantor, Mo Glassman, my successor. And that's what I'd like to see cantors and singers do, survive vocally. Kolami started off with my not being permitted to sing from the pulpit. I had to sing from the choir loft. So that took about 10 years before I became really a cantor on the pulpit. And I remember my president saying, all I want, Cantor, in the Hebrew, is the Shema, and the Kiddush, and the Kaddish. The rest is in English. Well, that's now 50-some years later, and I go back to my same synagogue, and it's an entirely different place. I love to sing from the pulpit, not as a performer, but I really honestly took seriously the idea that you're singing for the people. And that a kid can come up to me now when he is well on in years and with his own grandchildren and say, you know, Cantor, I can remember when you sang such and such and such and such. And you say to yourself, it meant something to somebody, you know. And so singing, that's what I was born to do, that's what I've done all my life. So singing was important to me and still is. To this very day, I feel about singing in '88 the way I did at 8. Exactly the same way. Nothing has changed.